Hello and welcome to this, our fifth video on business resilience. In this one, we are going to look at our suppliers. We're going to look at how well we know them and how well we know what they stand for and how well they help us to make money within the money-making machine and within the plan that we've already created. Business resilience, as we've said before, or as I've said before, is our ability to withstand change and our ability to recover when the worst happens. This is important because, a bit like an elastic band, if we are able to quickly snap back to the position we want to be holding, we are able to continue making money in a reliable way, in a dependable way. And so we're looking at improving our capacity for resilience, our elasticity, our ability to get back to the shape that we want to hold when something goes wrong. Suppliers can play a really big part in this. Suppliers are people who we depend upon to provide us with goods or services in order that we can give something to our customers, to our consumers. And so they are very important to making money, but they are also to quite a large extent out of our control. They have their own business plan, hopefully. They have their own path that they are following. And it is because what they do is helpful to us that we form a relationship where we work together. In doing so, they are working towards their plan and making money for their business, and we are working towards making money for our business. These are the relationships that I would encourage you to focus on. The ones where we are both getting something from it, rather than the ones where we are relying too heavily on someone, or we are trying to encourage them to do something that doesn't fit with their plan. Before we can know that, though, surely we need to know whether they have a plan. And so this is something that I suggest that you look at with your suppliers. I'd like you to look at how resilient they are to change. I would like you to look at whether they have a business plan. I would like you to look at whether you understand their money-making machine. I'd like you to consider their cash reserves. I'd like you to consider how well they get on with their customer base. And there's plenty of ways we can do this. There's information available online for a lot of it. You can ask them the questions. You can usually tell from a business's website whether they have a repeatable process or whether they've got a more happy-go-lucky approach to making money. You can look at review sites. You can see whether people have good reviews or bad reviews. There are plenty of ways that you can get to know your supplier. But beyond all of them, maybe it's as simple as asking them, "So I'd like to work with you and I just wondered, do you have a plan? What does your business stand for?" And maybe it's time to look at your suppliers and think that for the ones that you already have, it doesn't have to be new business relationships, but maybe the ones that you are already working with. And so I'm going to come straight to the metric that I'd like you to consider for your business. I know my suppliers. I know what they stand for. What I would like you to do is I would like you to list your suppliers, all of them, from the biggest of the biggest to the corner store you use once a year to buy some paper when you've run out in the office, whatever it might be. List them all, and I'd like you to consider, how is their price? Am I paying a reasonable price? Am I paying a high price or a low price? At this point, don't change it. Don't change anything, just list it. We need to review our whole business to see where the biggest problems are first. But am I overpaying? Am I underpaying? Or am I paying what I consider a fair price? And maybe rank the supplier. Maybe you want a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Red, yellow, green is a way that I quite like to do it. 1, 2, 3 if you prefer your numbers. And let's give each supplier a score on their price. Next, let's score them on quality. Let's score them on how good their product is, how well it fits our business money-making machine's needs. All right, this is important. It's not just a quality score based on it's the best available in the world. For example, let's take hotels. Maybe you need your staff to travel and stay in hotels. Well, their quality score, red, yellow, green, I think red is quite easy to understand. It would be a hotel that's not fit for purpose, that is leaving your staff having had a bad night's sleep or is unable to cope with the number of requests you make. Your staff turn up and there's no room available for them. That would be a red score straight away. Easy. But what's green? You could say that a 5-star or better hotel in a wonderful place with luxury spa facilities is the only way to make this one green. But unfortunately for your staff, that's not the case. Green to me simply means adequate or good to fuel the money-making machine. It meets the needs of my process in a way that I consider good. If it's doing that, it gets a green score. So there might be a relatively mid-market hotel chain that has lots of hotels across the nation that your staff can go to and know that they can depend upon them to get a good night's sleep, to have a room available, to be clean, and to be the standard that is needed for your staff to be in the right place to make you money the next day. Well, to me, this would be a green score. Consider all of your suppliers in that way. It's not the best in the world to get a green score. It's the best to make money for your business. Next, and this is closely linked to quality, but they are different. This is reliability of service. An example would be you might find that there is a supplier of widgets and they supply widgets that absolutely perfectly meet your needs and the needs of your business. But you can never get hold of them to place your order. Or they say that they will deliver by Friday, but they actually mean February. This would lead to your supplier receiving a lower score. I'd like it to be separated because something can be really high quality, but not reliably delivered. And I think you need to be aware of the two so that when you're making a decision about whether this is the right supplier or not, you're making a decision knowing that this is who you're choosing. The fourth area I would like you to score your suppliers on is values. Not value, i.e. value for money, but values. What are their values? Why do they make money? This is the one where I think you would need to see their business, understand how they make money, why they make money, why they're doing it, what they want to put into the world. And this is quite an important one to me. I like to work with people who share similar values to me, wherever possible, because it means that we're likely to be on the same page and that our business processes are likely to fit quite well together. And no two people being the same, it's absolutely the case that my values won't be the same as everyone else's values. And it means that there will be suppliers out there that suit me really well and suppliers out there that don't suit me very well, but would suit someone else very well. In accounting, we find this quite often. We'll have some customers who come in and say, I want you to save us tax at any means. Whatever happens, we need to be paying no tax. And I say, even if we have to do something illegal? And they say, even if you have to do something illegal. I'm sort of making this up a bit. And I say, well, that's not what we do. That's not my values. My value is that every taxpayer pays a fair amount of tax, that they complete their tax return right, in accordance with the law, and they pay the amount that is due to be paid. The reason I think this is important is because if you are breaking the law and not paying enough tax, it means that I have to pay more tax because the government will put the rates up to cover the amount that you haven't paid them that you were supposed to. I think it's right that everyone pays the fair amount of tax. If a customer hears me say that and goes, that sounds like nonsense, John, they quickly leave, and they've made a good decision because I would not be the right accountant for them. And as it is, they would not be the right customer for me. Our two money-making machines would not work very well together. Instead, if I have a customer coming in who says, I'd like someone who's going to help me grow my business and help me make more profit, and I go, you know, you'll pay more tax if you make more profit. And they go, yeah, I know that, but I'd like to make more profit because I'm trying to grow my business. I'll go, well, I'm definitely the right accountant to help you. And immediately we're starting, having been honest about where we are and how we make money, with a healthy relationship where we're both trying to move in a direction that complements each other's money-making machine. So for this reason, I think that values is incredibly important when we're scoring our suppliers. Having a supplier with the same values as us will make a big difference, especially when it comes to a time of business change. Because you will be able to call them up and say, hey supplier, this has happened, it's caught me out and I need some help. And if your values are closely aligned, I believe it's much more likely that they will turn around and say, yeah, for sure, we can help you with that. We understand why you need it. We understand what you're trying to do. and we already want to help you, this will be no problem. If you've looked at their capacity for business resilience, as I was talking about earlier, and you've looked at values, you will know that when you are struggling, they will be there to support you. Now, let's say you looked at their capacity for business resilience and found it a little bit lacking. This increases the chances that when you call upon them for help, when things are changing around you, they're not going to be able to support you in the way that you need. This is how suppliers can harm your ability to withstand change. You need suppliers who are going to be able to stand as strong as you in the world as it changes around you. You might look at key suppliers and say, I need these guys to be even stronger. You might look at some and say, do you know what? If they are not able to support me, there are plenty of other options who will. I don't buy that much from them. It's more of a transactional service. I'm thinking, if you go to a shop to buy your milk and they've run out of milk, you could probably just go to the next shop along and buy some milk. So there, maybe their resilience is not so important. But with your key suppliers, it's so important, because when things go wrong, you're going to be in it together. I'm now thinking back to my previous video where I was talking to you about us going into lockdown for the first time. And I truly believe that it's our ability to withstand change together that has led to some fantastic relationships between me and some of my customers, and us both making some good money because of the strength of that relationship and because of our ability to withstand the change together. Now, as we talk about businesses not being able to withstand change, I'd also like to touch on something called single point of failure. Single point of failure is where you have one supplier or one element of your process that can only be performed in a specific way by a specific person. This isn't quite the definition, but I hope you understand what I'm saying from it. If you are reliant on one supplier to fulfill one part of a process, and they are the only person or supplier who can do that, you've created a single point of failure, where if that point of your process fails, the whole machine will stop making money. If you look at your business and you find that, it's probably worth considering, are there alternatives to that setup? Is this a part of my money-making machine that needs a tweak? For example, if you have one supplier for stationery and you need this specific printed form in order to sell, what happens if they are unable to sell? Is it worth you working with two printers so that if this fundamental form is not available, you have an alternative available? Are there other things you can do to prepare for when that single point of failure lets you down? I'm not saying that they will. I'm saying be ready for it, because to take you back to the first video where I was talking about waves crashing over a wall, eventually one of these waves will crash over your flood defenses and it will get in. When it does, it's really handy to be ready for it, because it allows you to quickly recover from the change that's taken place. I'd like to talk to you about technology. As ever, technology remains a game changer to a lot of businesses. You will be following a process day in, day out, year in, year out, and then something will come along in the world of technology or computers or AI that changes the way you're able to produce your profit. Always be on the lookout for these. Always be on the lookout for ways that technology can innovate. But, as I've said in previous videos, create your process first. Create your dependable process, and then consider how technology can improve it. I think this is a much more dependable way to build a business that's resilient to change, instead of thinking, oh, here's a new piece of technology I'd like to try, here's another new piece of technology I'd like to try, here's another one. Because if you remember back to our first video, I was talking about the path that you're following. I would question whether these pieces of technology are helping you to follow your path, or whether they're actually detours from the path that you intended to follow. Get your path straight in your head, create your process that will help you to follow it, and then start tweaking it with innovation and with technology. And now to remind you about that KPI, I mentioned it earlier, but I'm going to come back to it now. This is create a list of your suppliers and score them. Score them on price, score them on quality, score them on reliability, and score them on their values. You might also, if you can, look into their ability to be resilient in the face of change. So you might want to consider their business resilience as well. Audit your suppliers, know them well. So that's the KPI for today. I know my suppliers. I hope you found this video useful. There is one more area that I look forward to sharing with you in the next video to help you improve your business's resilience.